All right, everybody signed in. Welcome. Thanks for jumping on. Want to try a different date, do a little Saturday action. Haven't done a weekend yet. I'm not sure the availability of everybody, so we're going to just bounce around a little bit, see if we can't choose some different dates instead of always doing it on Thursday or something. Just because I want to see different attendance and all that jazz, which I guess attendance doesn't matter all that much. Everybody just goes back and listens to them for the most part, but yeah, that's what we got. So it's Saturday, long week. Lots have been going on, a lot of different things to talk about. But first, I want to open the floor, see if anybody's got anything that they want to chime in on, see if anybody's got any new topics or anything that they want to bring forward. Maybe chat a little bit about whatever that may be. So, floor is yours. Whoever wants to chime in, either in the chat or unmute yourself and fire away. But usually everybody just listens to me blab for an hour. Just about. Dan, Stormball Arsenal. So we didn't really go into big details about the Stormball Arsenal, building an arsenal. I'm kind of waiting to do that video because I got some things that are holding me up. But we did talk about some of the numbers with the Stormballs and some of the things we could do with them in here in one of the previous podcasts. I believe it was the second or third one. I'm not sure. But if you don't have that one in your email me and I'll send you over the link to the rest of the podcast. Anybody who doesn't have the old podcast links and you want to go back and listen to them, just shoot me an email and I'll send you the old links so that way you can go through and listen to them whenever you have a little bit of free time. If you want to, if not, no big deal. That's all good. But yeah, we did go over some of the storm stuff and we'll go over it again shortly. I am going to make videos on all those. I just got to figure out how I'm doing it. I do have some things that are holding me up on that. So, plus now I'm working a little bit with Mason Brantley at the shop at Classic Lanes, and he's a storm guy. So if I can get him to come on and kind of give a little bit more of a staffer's point of view on what he sees, because he drills all the stuff, that would probably help a little bit too. And I think in future podcasts, I'm going to start bringing in some guests, some guest speakers to come in and have conversation with me, so that way we can liven up the chat a little bit more. Hopefully, get some of you guys to answer or to ask some questions a little bit more. I'm sure you get tired of just asking me questions because I don't know the answers to everything. I try to answer everything as best I can, but I certainly don't have all the answers, even though some people seem to think that I do think that I have all the answers, but I don't. So we're gonna try to bring in some guest speakers and make some moves that way. Thanks for the happy birthday there, Leland. Appreciate that. Just turned 21 again. Guess we can turn the camera on so y'all can see me. Otherwise, you're just staring at a blank screen for the most part. It's my beautiful curtains. All my wife's sweatshirts hanging on the door because she's always cold. But went and got a little practice in today. Only bowled a few games, didn't do much. Went and recorded that new video. I just posted a new video on hand positions and all that. So a lot of my videos coming up are going to be more geared towards like beginners. I'm not going to go too advanced in some of the stuff. I'm going to do a few beginners videos here coming up, and then I'll go into more advanced stuff after that. But I would like to try to get more of the beginner bowlers involved, try to help them a little bit as much as possible. So that way, maybe they like to enjoy bowling and maybe they want to continue bowling and join a league and do some cool things. So we're going to try and reach the beginners a little bit more and maybe add in some more advanced type videos as much as possible. But enjoyed the latest rev rate video. Yeah, the rev rate one was one I kind of redid. I didn't talk about the elbow in the original rev rate video. I meant to do another video as a step 3 or 4, whatever step I was on. but I figured this time I would just kind of redo it since I'm in a new place now. I would redo that in the new building so that way people get a different view, different perspective. I worded things a little bit differently this time, so we'll see how that video does. It's doing okay right now, get quite a few views. But again, so now this is pretty much one of my, this is my job now, is just teaching, training. Yes, I do still have Dexter, but I'm not technically a sales guy there anymore. I'm just more doing some advertising, some marketing there, promoting, and so technically I am still an employee of Dexter, and I will answer any questions that I possibly can for Dexter, so that way you guys have somebody to go to if you need. And but otherwise, this channel, my teaching, my coaching, all that is my source of income now. So that's kind of why I'm pushing it a little bit more than I was before. It was kind of just it's like a hobby. Just kind of, I used it to help promote my job at Turbo at the time. I used it to kind of promote the training center and some products there and stuff, and maybe do a little training inside there. And it worked out really well. And so now I'm transitioning it into my into a training type situation to where I'm doing personal lessons and online lessons and all that. So anybody that wants to do or isn't already doing online lessons or personal lessons, you can head over to patreon.com/life's traction control. Or if you just want to support the channel, because this is what I'm doing, if you support what we're doing here, trying to help bowling, trying to help bowlers get better, then you can just simply join one of the tiers just to support the channel. There's some low tiers there. That is it's a monthly thing there, so pretty cool that they have that. Do have quite a few people on there that do support the channel and are on there supporting the channel, so I appreciate that. Everybody that's doing that, definitely appreciate that. It's not free to make all this stuff and to make this stuff happen. So and believe it or not, I actually do pay for lineage when I go and make videos and stuff at this place, so it's kind of cool. It actually works out to where I can make the videos and do my lessons and pay the center to, for their use. And, hopefully it all comes back around at some point too. So, but yeah, if you need lessons or if you want to learn a little bit more on a personal one-on-one type situation rather than just seeing videos, then head over to Patreon and we'll get you guys set up. Pete says, there are a few beginners in one of my leagues and I've pointed them to the direction of your YouTube. Yeah, appreciate that. Hopefully that gets them more interested and keeps them bowling. Any opinion on the Statement and Statement Pearl? They're being offered at a special rate in the Pro-Am. Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the Statement Solid. I'm going to be honest with you, and I know I'm supposed to because I'm on track staff. I'm supposed to say that I love everything from EBI, but you're never going to get that out of me. You're never going to get me to say that I love every ball. I'm not going to say I hate any ball, but I definitely have yet to find a use for that ball because it's so strong. But it may be just me because the Statement Solid is a huge cover, and that core is super strong and a real low diff with a high differential. So you're going to get that ball to hook a ton. And it doesn't really like, for me, it was a little bit better when I shined it up a bit, but it was not the greatest for me when it was dull. So it's not one that I keep in my bag very regularly. But the Statement Pearl, on the other hand, is a very, very good bowling ball. That is one of my best bowling balls for when I'm able to move further left and I need that big engine bowling ball to read the middle of the lane and still get through the pens. So Statement Pearl is always my choice when I go, when I start getting left of 20, 22 or so at the arrows. And then, my other favorite in there is always my Eruption Pro Blue because it's a little quicker down lane, so it's pretty sweet. The low rev rate guys, it's definitely the Statement Solid and the Statement Pearl are good for the low rev rate guys or lower rev rate guys because they are lower RG, so they get into a roll a little bit quicker, so you don't have to try to give it all this extra oomph down to get it to do whatever you want down lane. So it's nice, and that's really what these big asymmetrical balls are designed for. They're more designed for the the league bowler, the lower rev rate guy or girl or gal, woman, lady, whatever you want to call them. They're designed for the lower rev rate to get them to pick up a little bit more and give you that big ball reaction with the power going through the pins still, which is one of those things that love it or hate it, bowling balls have definitely changed the game. The resin that's come out. It's definitely changed the game. Made them. I don't want to say it's made the game easier. It's made it easier to get to the pocket. I personally think the game's gotten harder over the years, just because so much technology changed and there's so many different variables now. The variables have gone a little out of hand now. So having to know your equipment, having to know the topography, having to know the pattern, having to know the transition, having to know the people in front of you, having to know, the surface of the bowling balls, the cores in them. I mean, there's just so much you have to know in order to be successful nowadays, to be elite successful. You can be successful in league and score really well there, but to be at that elite level, to be a really competitive bowler in the tournament scene, I mean, you've got to know a lot, and you've got to be really well prepared. Paul, will you be bowling the Lubbock tournament? No, unfortunately. I'm going to be bowling everything else after that. I just couldn't pull the trigger on Lubbock because flights were so expensive, and the prize fund's not that great for that event. So I couldn't justify making the trip all the way out there and being gone for another 4 days or whatever away from home. So I'm going to bowl starting in Chesapeake. After the Lucy, I'm going to bowl all the summer stuff coming up, basically all through August, and then try to give it a go as much as possible. Get some time in on the lanes and see if we can't improve, get better now that I got more time to practice and focus more on myself. And when I'm coaching and when I'm training, it helps me a lot. Every time I have lessons and certain things with people, it always makes me really focus and think about my own game at the same time. Because I'm one of those guys as a coach, I'm a firm believer, and I know some people are going to disagree with me on this, but I'm a firm believer that it's easier for somebody to be able to teach parts of the game if you're able to do those parts of the game yourself. So if you're able to do what you're trying to teach, then you would be one of the better coaches, or it'd be easier to be one of the better coaches. So I pride myself in being able to do just about anything with a bowling ball and being able to do and demonstrate almost everything when it comes to coaching. So it's nice to be able to focus in back on myself after having some lessons and training and doing all that stuff with other people as well. So and that's not to say that the coaches who are not the greatest bowlers, it's not to say that they're not good coaches. That's not at all what I'm saying. I just think it's easier for the guys who have been there, who have bowled on the patterns, who have done all these things. It's easier for them to learn the game and to know the game and to be able to make the adjustments and to teach the adjustments than it is for somebody who hasn't quite been there as nearly as much. Yeah. When you practice, do you ask the house lane maintenance people to put down specific oil, or did you shoot whatever's there? Yeah, I don't worry about what's out there, because when I'm practicing, I'm looking at specific things. I'm trying to do specific things. I go in with a goal, and right now, for me, I feel really good physically. I don't feel like there's much I could really do different physically. Of course, I've got a little loop in my swing I could probably correct, but I've tried to correct it before, and I did correct it, but it didn't work out for me. So I just went back to what I knew, and I'm really good with that loop. And you got guys like Brandon Novak and some of these guys who have crazy loops in their swing that are just they're really good at what they do. And that's kind of where it was with me. It's like, you know what, I'm just going to be really good at what I do. I've got that little hitch in the swing. I'm not worried about it. It's not going to really cause any problems for me. I was just about, I had a chance to make just about every show when I was bowling full time. I think it was like 6 events in a row that I missed each show by less than 50 pins. I finished in the top 10 every time, but I was bowling really good. I was bowling a lot. But no, I focus on specific things when I go and practice. I'm looking at angles. I'm trying to get my ball to read in certain spots no matter what's out there. If it's completely burned up, then I'm trying to get my ball to float through the front. I'm trying to do whatever I can with my hand to float through the front. I'm not always trying to strike. I'm never keeping score, but I'm just trying to get the ball to go from point A to point B and be consistent with my hand, do some changes with my hand to make sure I can do all the right things with my hand, with my body, with my mind. And that's one of the biggest. If I have any advice for anybody when it comes to practices, it's to make sure you practice the same way you would bowl a tournament. So you're always trying to, pretend that you're competing in an event when you're practicing for them, at least after a certain amount of time. Maybe not for the first 10 or 15 minutes because you're getting loose. You're just, working on certain physical things. But once you get your physical things worked out and you're just trying to, create some repetitiveness, make some better shots, and try to make repeat shots, that's when you start to try to teach it like it's a competition. You start to try to put extra pressure on yourself. Um, you could use whatever it is that you want. Tell yourself that, unless you make this specific shot, you're not allowed to have a beer tonight. That'll put a lot of pressure on a lot of people. I know it would me. No, I'm just kidding. I haven't had a beer in a few days. Go to Vegas here in a couple of days though, so there might be an alcoholic beverage or two drink out there when my guys get out there with me. And my wife's going with me too, so it'll be fun. We don't have the kids for a week. Woo! This will be our first time ever getting away from the kids for a full week. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be fun though. All right. Anything else out there before we move on? I got a couple of things I want to talk about and bring up. I don't want to keep you guys too late, but I just wanted to jump on and at least give you guys some things to think about, give you guys some things to talk about. But one of the first things over this past week, I'm sure everybody's heard about that tournament, the Proprietors Cup, that was ran. The Proprietors Cup was an event put together by Billy Eitzel. I think it was about 7 years ago now. And his model's great. When I was in college, I was developing a model for a tournament, and I was saying, like, I went and bowled some of the European stops. I went overseas and bowled in Germany and Austria, and those tournaments go for a week long, and it's re-entry after re-entry, and there's squads each day, and they do a cut at the end of the week. And I was kind of trying to base a plan on creating an event like that, but then I'm like, you know what? Why can't I just make an event that guarantees a certain amount, and then do qualifiers throughout the year to gain those entries to make sure I get to that certain amount. So that's what Billy did. Billy created an event called the Proprietors Cup, to where he was going to run however many entry qualifiers out there he could. And I think after the first couple of years, he finally started to really buckle down and run them, and have people help him out and run them. And he did like 150 of them or something. So then he was basically selling the event out each year for a couple of years for this big entry fee. It ended up being, I think this year it was $700, and then years past it started at 500, or it started at like 1100, and then he kind of slowly brought it down, and then it's going back up again. I think last year he had 240 bowlers. That's all he had room for, and he filled it up, and I think it was a $600 entry fee, and they paid close to $30,000 to win. So, but the problem came last year. For every year that he ran that event, he's always paid out cash, and all the brackets, of course, are cash. Everything in there is cash. They never write any checks. And apparently something happened after last year's event to where somebody must have called him out or called the IRS or something, because somebody put the hammer down on him. And for some reason, he was, right before all this happened, he was collecting early bird entries, where people would pay a lower entry fee to get in, way, way early. So people were paying, $400 or $500 for a $700 entry fee. And he did this for probably 30, 35 people. I don't know the exact number, but I heard it was north of $40,000 that actually ended up getting seized from these entries and everything. So all these people put all this money into these entries, and that money got seized because of back taxes. Well, then there was a post from Billy that said that people were giving him false social security numbers, so that came back on him, and he couldn't get a hold of people and this and that. Well, the problem with that is I bowled last year. I think it was last year or the year before. One of those 2 years I bowled. 1 year I didn't bowl, and 1 year I did bowl. I've only bowled twice, and I cashed. I ended up making the cut and cashed for like $1,400 or $1,500. Nobody ever asked me for a social security. Not one person. I was handed cash for my winnings. So that theory went right out the window. I don't ever, and I've talked to a couple different people also who said they never gave any social security numbers over or anything either. So I don't know if that was just a cover, if he was just trying to cover his butt on the whole thing. I mean, whatever it was, it kind of sucks, because then it came down to all these bowlers losing out on that money, and a lot of people waiting on refunds and stuff. So that money got seized. Billy then I guess apparently started working extra hours and trying to pay this back. And apparently he's done a pretty good job of at least paying a lot of it back. Hasn't paid all of it back. But the Bowling Center this year, they took it upon themselves to cover that money that was missing. So, and they said $40,000. They said in a comment on one of their posts that they covered $40,000 of the missing money to put into the prize fund. Well, there was an uproar about everything, and I was one of them that was like not happy with how they did things at first until I realized how much money they put into it. But at first, when they announced the prize, when you look at the prize or the flyer, it says $100 for expenses and lineage. That right there, that was the first thing I saw, and I'm like, whoa, like that's incredibly high for something like that. So then when I see there was only 140 entries, I'm like, that's $14,000 just in lineage and expenses. So it makes you wonder how much was actually in lineage, how much was in expenses. But either way, um, man, that's a lot of money for lineage and expenses. I mean, it is what it is. It's their event; they can do whatever they want. But then when you look at the prize fund, it said that of every entry, $600 went to the prize fund, and 100% of that went in straight to the prize fund. So then they posted the prize fund, and it was paid out like 77,200 or something. But when you do the math, at 140 bowlers, it was like $84,000 that was supposed to be there. So there was missing, that 4,000 or $5,000, whatever it ended up being, that wasn't there. So there was an uproar on that, and so then they revised it, and then they posted a new prize fund that said, well, there's money missing because of X amount of early bird entries and X amount of buy one get one entries and this and that. So basically, kudos to the Bowling Center for to Beaverview for putting up the money to cover that money that was there or that was gone. Um, they didn't have to take over the event; they could have just let it die and basically made all those people, wait on their money back, which there's still people waiting for money back. But they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to do that at all. So kudos to them. But at the same time, when you do these early bird entry fees and the buy one get one, whatever, you take that upon yourself. That's your choice to make those entry fees cheaper, to try to gain some traction to get some entries in there early. That's your choice. But either way, no matter what, you're still supposed to pay into the prize fund exactly the same as if it's a full entry. So you basically are supposed to just eat the expenses or whatever for that, and that money still goes into the prize fund. So no matter what, there still should have been $84,000 paid out, in my opinion. Um, so I'm kind of 50-50 on it. I give them some leeway for putting all that money into it to cover up, the mistake of one of their employees. But at the same time, I still think it should have paid, 84,000. You already got $40,000 in there. I think you should have did the right thing and paid the extra, 4,000 or 5,000 there, especially since you're collecting $100 per entry for expenses and lineage for the bowling center. On top of that, you've got hundreds upon hundreds of brackets between the 3 events that they ran and the team event. So 4 events that they ran. Who knows what they collected for expenses and lineage for the other ones. And I have no idea how many brackets they ran, but I imagine there was probably at least 1,000 brackets or more throughout that week. So you're talking a few $5,000-6,000, but depending on how many brackets they ran, on top of all the expenses and everything. So it was easily, if I had to estimate a number, there's no way they didn't pull in less than $30,000 from all those events, and that's just in expenses, lineage, and brackets, not counting beer money or food money, concessions, all that stuff. So in a bowling center situation in the summertime on a weekend, some centers can still do good. I'm not going to claim that I know what Beaverview does on a weekend, but I know most centers struggle on the weekends. I don't know that they would have brought in $30,000 over a 2-day stretch, um, or even a 4-day stretch or whatever it was from that center. They could have. I'm not sure. I don't know. And bowling centers are there to make money. I get it. I'm not telling them to give people lineage for free. They don't have to give up their center for 4 days. But that I don't know. To me, that seems $100 seems extreme to me per entry on that. And maybe they made it up in the other entries. I don't know. I didn't get a chance to see those. Maybe they only did like, $10 lineage and expenses for the other events. I have no idea. They could have, so I'm not going to call them out completely on it. And I did make a post that said, hey, kudos to them for putting all that money up to cover their butts, or cover the butt of somebody who had screwed up big time. You're playing around with that kind of money. You're talking about $100,000 in money. The IRS is going to come around and they're going to look for their cut. They're always going to want their cut. They don't want anybody getting a freebie out of that. So it's bad enough that people are already kind of screw over paying their taxes on certain things. Like, I'll be the first to tell you that we try to, as bowlers, we try to write off as much as we possibly can, as much as we possibly can legally get away with, without lying, basically. We try to make it as easy as possible to pay in as little as possible. But I'll tell you, many years I've actually had to pay in on taxes for bowling expenses and all that, which is how it should be. For the years that all I was doing was basically bowling, was, I was making okay money. I think the one year actually just bowling, I didn't even bowl tour full time. I bowled part-time tour and I bowled mostly local stuff. I ended up claiming over $85,000 just in bowling money. So I know that's a little detail. I probably shouldn't be telling people that, but I don't care. I'm going to be open and let you guys know how it actually is. There's money to be made out there. I'm not saying that $85,000 is a lot of money by any means. A lot of people make way more than that just working, part-time. But as a bowler, getting to travel around and do what you love, just throwing a ball down the lane at some stationary objects, I'd say that's pretty fun, and I look forward to doing it again. I'm not really going to be bowling full-time, but I'll be bowling part-time to try to make a little extra money. Did okay last week, bowled the regional. I luck boxed my way into a second place finish, had a chance to win and threw it like garbage. So worked out okay. Make a little bit of money there. Yeah, when you got sponsorships and stuff, you get a little bit of bonus money for finishing first or second in PBA events and the regionals, and then you finish in the top 5 in national events, and you get bonus money there as well. So there's all kinds of money to be made if you have the right deals worked out and all that good jazz. But if you're just a bowler, it's still a really, really tough avenue. So anybody got any comments on that weekend or anything going on there? Leland, that's actually a really good idea. I do have quite a few two-handed friends who are very, very good bowlers. We'll see if I can't get them to come on, and maybe I'll even make a collaboration video to where we talk about the two-handed style a little bit. So it seems to be a pretty popular style. I probably should have done it already, but I'm still technically studying the two-handed style. There's a lot more movement. There's a lot more, in my opinion, technique to two-handed style than there is one-handed. I think one-handed is a little bit easier as far as creating direction and angles and all that. The more difficult part of one-handed bowling is just the clearing of the thumb, getting your fit correct to be able to clear the thumb properly and rotate your hand properly is it's an art. It's an art form. And it's hard to learn. And then with two-handed bowling, you don't really have that so much. It's you have the ability to change your tilt on command because your thumb's not in there, and you have that second hand to stabilize the ball throughout the swing. So you can get your hand into really crazy positions and make some really, really high tilts and low tilts or whatever. You can make dramatic changes to, whereas if you're using your thumb, it's a whole lot harder to make changes to your tilt. But it's possible. Some of the best in the world, like Duke, he can get his to raise 10 degrees or lower 10 degrees at any time. It's being consistent with it's the hard part. But yeah. Anybody got anything on that? Was anybody here to go to the event? All right, we got another quiet night. Nobody wants to chat. Everybody wants to listen.
Hey, JR, how are you making out with the offset thumb? You discussed a while ago that you were hanging up on it. How How's that working for you? Have you got it wider or looser or what?
Yeah, I mean, it's full disclosure here. There's really no such thing as an offset thumb. I just, when I call it that, it's just because that's what people know it as. Um, it's really just a raised ring finger with different pitches in the finger is all it is. But yeah, I did raise my ring a little bit more, which then essentially offset the thumb a little bit more than what it was. So I raised it another eighth of an inch, which did take care of that issue. And so now I've basically got no rubbing or anything on my thumb. So I'm good to go there. I've been practicing quite a bit and bowling quite a bit, and I don't have any issues, pain, or anything like that anymore. So I've got that figured out. Still need to tweak my finger pitches a pinch. I do. I think I went a little too far. I went way left with my fingers to try to increase my tilt, which definitely worked. But uh, I think I went a little too far. I feel like maybe I need to cut back the reverse just a pinch because I think I have a quarter reverse. So maybe I just need to go to 3/16 or even an eighth reverse instead and get a little bit more feel on the pad of the fingers instead of pushing them away so far. But yeah, I've got it pretty well figured out. Um, and then quite a few guys who have seen it, even some of the guys on tour, like Thomas Larson was one that he approached me while we were in Vegas, and he had talked to me a little bit about it. He was having a lot of the same issues, so I had made some suggestions to him, and it looks like he made a post a week or so ago about some changes he made, changing his finger pitches and moving his thumb a little bit. So it seems to work out for him, or it seemed to have worked out for him. He said it feels better now. So um, a lot of what I do when I talk about fit and stuff, it's really to just get people to start thinking a little bit more about how their hand feels in the ball, because most people really don't know how they're supposed to feel in the ball. They go to the pro shop guy, they put three holes in it. That's what they know. They don't know if it feels good or not. They just go with it because that's what the pro shop guy did for them, and they just kind of go with it. And then when they go to a different pro shop who maybe spends a little bit more time getting to know them, looking at their hand, putting an oval in their thumb, and changing some things. Well, now they tweak it a little bit. Now all of a sudden they're like, wow, that feels so much better. And so then they start to get thinking. And then when I post videos and get people thinking about some different pitch changes and moving the thumb around and all that jazz, um, it gets people going into the pro shop to really check and look at their hand and look at things a little bit there too. So, and fit was one of those things that I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit today. So I guess we can kind of do that now. But um, I think I ran into a lesson the other day um, who who had a circle thumb, and every time I see somebody with a circle thumb, I always tell them to give me a thumbs up. I'm like, give me a thumbs up. Let me see your thumb. Now, when you look at your thumb, does that look like a perfect circle to you? Is it the same size front to back as it is left to right? And 99 times out of 100, because there's those rare people who have weird thumbs that are fairly round, um, but 99 times out of 100, they look at it and they say, "Ooh, no way, it's wide, like it's flat." Like, exactly. So why do you have a circle thumb in your ball if your thumb's not a circle? Like, so that's not fitting at all. So what happens is they go in, they put a circle thumb in, they go throw a few shots, they say, oh, it's hanging up on the sides a little bit. So the pro shop guy takes a buzzer or a bevel sander and they run it down there until it's nice and loose on the sides. Now they got it nice and loose on the sides, but the problem is now it's too big front to back. And that's the most important part, not side to side. You can have it tight side to side. As long as it's not loose front to back, you're in good shape. Um, but now you got to cram a bunch of tape in it. And then when I start seeing people put tape in it, now they're putting tape in and they're just layering it piece after piece after piece right on top of each other. They're not staggering it. They're not bringing it down at all and changing the shape to get it to put certain pressure on their hand. Because most people don't realize that you can change exactly how that ball comes off your hand or how it feels on your hand by where you put the tape higher and lower. The higher you put the tape in your thumb hole, the more pressure you actually get on this part of your thumb, which means you can hold on to it more and you don't have to grip as much. and you're not squeezing as much, but it will make you feel like you're hanging on a little bit longer. Whereas if you put the tape lower in the thumb hole, now it puts the pressure down further on the pad of your thumb, and it's almost like it just pushes your thumb back a little bit by putting the tape down on this area here. So it's like it gives you a little bit more reverse. So that day where you feel like, man, I can't get out of the ball clean. I feel like I'm hanging up in it, and you just keep taking tape out and keep taking tape out. Now you have no tape in it, and you still can't get out of it because now your thumb's swelling to the size. Don't take tape out. Unless you can't get in it at all, don't take tape out. Just move the tape down. Just lower it just a little bit, and you'll notice you'll be able to clear it a whole lot faster. And the opposite is true if you feel like you're dropping it each day or each ball. Now you don't know what to do. Don't start adding tape unless you don't have enough in there, of course, but really start moving the tape up that's in there. Move it higher towards the rim of the thumb hole, and you can gain a little bit more pressure there. And I promise you, for anybody in here who's never tried playing with the tape and moving it around like that, the next time you go bowl, you need to go and try it. You need to go just practice it. Just go and practice and move your tape up and down. Throw a few shots with it up, throw a few shots with it down, and just watch the difference. Just watch, and always make sure it's on that flat part of your thumb. Don't have it on the sides over here, on the sides, or even in the back. Never put any texture tape on the back. If you need to fill some space on the back part of your thumb, use a smooth tape. Use black tape of some sort and get it to fill in the back side of the thumb hole. Don't do too much with any texture tape. You could probably put a piece of texture on the back as long as you cover it with a smooth piece, because you want that to be as smooth as possible. So there's little tricks that people don't know about, and it's shocking. That's why you see guys like Norm Duke and Wes Malott. They're constantly fidgeting with their tape on the TV shows, and you never really see them take tape out. Usually they take it out and then they put it right back in. So, well, what are they doing that for? Well, it's because they're moving the tape up and down. And sometimes for Norm, he's actually moving it a little bit side to side because he wants to feel a little pressure on certain sides to help him to rotate his hand around the side better. Because he is a guy who has trouble getting the ball to finish at the back sometimes. So he has to have his hand feel right to get it to rotate around the side as much as possible. And Wes is the same way. He's a higher rev guy. Now he's kind of in the middle of the pack for rev rate compared to what he used to be, because there's so many guys with so much higher rev rate nowadays out on tour. But now those guys are manipulating and changing the feel of their bowling ball based on what they're seeing and what they need. I'm the same way. As I move left and as I need to go around the lane and get the ball to hook more, I'm going to raise my tape up to get me to hold on to it so I can circle my hand around it. And then when I'm playing straighter, I want to clear it faster so I can get it to be smoother and clean and get it to roll. So I will lower the tape down a little bit. So it's just these little tricks that people need to know. And I promise, if you have a circle thumb in your bowling ball, you need to go and check it out. At least try. If you have switch grip or ITS or ultimate or Jopo or whatever interchangeable you have, go drill another one and make it an oval. Have somebody take some calipers and check the size and do it the proper way. So that way it fits up, and leave yourself a little room for tape so you can manipulate it and change it like that. So anybody have any questions on that type of thing, on fit, on taping your ball, on anything like that? Got a quiet group, minus the one person that has their microphone on making all kinds of background noise.
Mentioned you moved your ring finger back.
What's that now?
And yet on video I watched you had moved your thumb over by at least 3/4 of an inch off the center line of your two fingers.
Yeah.
Okay. You just mentioned that you had moved your ring finger up,
which is essentially the same thing as moving your thumb. Yeah.
Okay, that to me doesn't make any sense, because I'm looking at my hand, and if I got the center line between two fingers going down the center of my wrist, my thumb is offset by at least 1.5 inch center line to the two fingers.
Right. Yeah, and I saw it the same way as you when I first started thinking of this. and you're not seeing it wrong. You're not seeing it wrong at all. What you can do is start with your thumb, put your thumb in the ball, and just lay your fingers across, however you want your hand to sit. Don't lay it flat because then you're going to have a super 2-inch offset and it's going to feel weird in your hand. But just put your thumb in, lay your fingers across, and then draw that line between your fingers. And all you really want to do is you can do your span however you want, but in order to get that offset look, to make it to look that all that is it's an illusion because it's a sphere. It's just a raised ring finger is all it is. And then you're just changing the pitches based on it. So, and then you're putting your grips in based on that other center line, not straight to the thumb. The mistake a lot of people make and a lot of pro shops make is they line the grips up straight with their thumb. You can't do that because your fingers and your thumb don't line up that way. Your thumb's always going to be angled. So if I look at my thumb, you can see my thumb actually lines up over here. It doesn't line up straight to my fingers. It lines up over here. So my grips are actually angled this way instead of straight up and down from my finger or from my thumb. So because when you set your fingers in the ball, then you have to, as you rotate your thumb to put it in, your fingers turn, and now those grips are they feel weird. It's not right. So you can get away with just turning your grips sometimes as long as your ring finger's raised a little bit. But the big mistake that most shops do, I shouldn't say most, some shops do, is they line those grips up front to back with that thumb hole. Because just like you said, when you look at your hand, your thumb isn't straight up and down with the center of your wrist, according to with your fingers. So why would you line your grips up with the center of your wrist? Because your thumb's not going to go in there. So why would you line your grips up with the center of your thumb? Because that's not how your hand sits in it.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt you here. The venue that you're at now, giving lessons and whatnot, you give a high five to the guys in the pro shop. Are they very reasonably versed on this offset thumb idea?
Yes. Mason's had a few. Mason's done a few of them himself. Looked at it for a couple different people. Me and him have talked about it a little bit too. So he definitely would be able to help in that area. That wouldn't be a problem. And I'm sure he would not hesitate to give me a call, or I could always shoot up there too. It wouldn't be that big of a deal to meet up there and help out as well. But yeah, he's definitely somebody that can be talked to about that type of situation or that type of fit, and he'd be able to help. But worst case scenario, one way or another, we'd get it figured out. I'd go up there if I needed to.
Yeah. Okay. I'm good. Next.
Next, who's up? What do we got? Any questions? Anything on fit? Anything on the Proprietors Cup? Anything in general at all? Awfully quiet. I know there's questions. Don't lie to me. 18 people in here right now. Somebody's got to be saying something. Oh, Jeremy screwed up and thought this started at 9. Yeah, epic fail. Should get Robert Smith on. I could probably do that. I know Rob's pretty good. Probably get Rob on here. At least you're honest about it. I'm not sure what you're talking about, James, but I am a pretty honest person. I don't think you can get me to lie. I had a two-hander on my high school team who had negative tilt with one of his releases. Yeah, that's really easy to actually come up with because you get your hand to rotate too fast, and you get the center of the ball to actually go downward instead of up like most people do. So it's crazy, but it works for some people. The eternal struggle finding the perfect grip. Yeah. I switched from lift finger grips to oval, much better feel, only took me 25 years. Yeah. And a lot of it is because nowadays we're not trying to lift the ball. Lift is a bad term. Never use that term. You're not trying to lift it. You're trying to roll it. You're trying to get it off your fingers as soft as possible, but get it off your thumb as quick as possible to let your fingers roll through it. So you want to roll through the ball, not lift up on the ball, if that makes any sense. That probably is a video I need to do because not a lot of people know about that. I do like your thumb release recommendations. I think I am way too old school to ever drop the shoulder to get the ball under my head. At 72, some ideas don't come without pain. Yeah, Gripping the ball is tough, and a lot of people grip the ball exactly because of what we talked about with the circle thumb. People have a circle thumb and they have no choice but to grip the ball, and that's why their rev rate is actually lower, is because their thumb and their fingers get out of the ball near the same time. And the way your rev rate goes up is by getting your thumb out quicker than your fingers. Your fingers should still be in the ball when your thumb is completely cleared out of the ball, and then your fingers rotate through. And the faster you make that motion, that transition from thumb out to fingers through the ball, the higher your rev rate will actually be. And that's where the technique of the cupped wrist to uncupped wrist release comes in, with the yo-yo release, and then also the bent elbow to unbent bent elbow. So you combine the bent elbow to bent elbow with the cupped release, cupped wrist to uncupped wrist at the same time, and all of a sudden you have, EJ Tackett. You watch that guy in slow motion and you see all kinds of bends everywhere, where if we looked at his game 20 years ago, nobody would ever teach it. They'd be saying, what in the world are you doing? You're going to be so inconsistent doing that. We should be teaching straight arms, straight wrist, just roll through the ball and lift with your fingers, and being as consistent as possible. But today you're hurting yourself doing that, because the game has evolved so much that that type of game is almost obsolete. One of the prime examples of that is actually Parker Bone. I think a lot of it, he grew up and bowled through the era of being able to play as straight as possible all the time and being able to throw it hard. And his struggle is getting his ball speed a little bit lower. So when he has to start to move right a little bit, his rev rate isn't high enough to get it around the corner. So he has to slow his ball speed down, and he's not a fan of doing that. So what he does is start shutting his angles down and continues throwing it harder, and he loses all kinds of pin carry. So even though he's one of the more accurate players, one of the more fundamentally sound as far as straightness and clean swings go, he lacks certain things that can make him that much better. And now this isn't me criticizing Parker by any means, because he's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the best to ever do it. But if I were to get him in my training center and work with him for a day, I would be focusing on, I think we would work on getting him out of the ball a little bit quicker, and then also working on his foot speed to get his ball speed down a pinch, because I'm not sure that he likes to change his timing or his tempo very much. How do you think coaching and ball drilling will change over the next few years with Specto and Bowler ID? I think we're seeing some dramatic improvements, and it's not just with Bowler ID. I think it's with Specto, Bowler ID, and Blueprint, which is the EBI software, to where you can lay out a bowling ball and see what it looks like, see where the ball is going to flare, see how it's going to roll. You can see everything before you even ever drill the ball. So this new technology, these new software programs that are coming out are making bowlers just that much better. I mean, when I was at Turbo and had the ability to use Specto every day, you could see flaws that you can't see with the naked eye. And it's amazing to be able to pick those things out. And especially with students who, they walk in with that chip on their shoulder and they think they've already, they know everything, and they think they're already as good as they can be, but their parents have them there because, they just want them to get coaching for some reason. And you tell them to line up in a specific area, and all of a sudden you watch them and they're lined up 10 boards too far left as a right-hander. And they end up walking right, and then they end up missing their target by like 4 right, and they're like, see, I threw that perfect. And then they throw another one and it's like 3 left of that, and they're like, that was exactly the same. And you show them the Specto data and they're like, whoa, I stink, I didn't know I actually threw it that bad. So it's kind of cool to be able to show people how they are walking and doing things incorrectly and have data to back it up. So I can sit there and tell you all day long, and unless the student trusts me of what I'm going to say, of what I'm saying, and I think we're building that, and that's what I'm doing all this for, is so that way we build a reputation and build some trust between my students and me, so that way when I do say, hey, this is what I need you to do, that they just say, okay, let's go, let's get to work and let's do it, knowing that it's going to better their game. But having that type of data behind it just makes coaching so much easier. It's going to change things dramatically. I mean, you see how it changed the PBA Tour. You can see how Fox has, with them using the Kegel Specto on their shows now to show you, even the best don't throw it the same every single time. and the best are the best because they're able to figure out how to still strike when they're not throwing it the same every single time. So they're still way more accurate and way more consistent than, you know, any average Joe bowler is, but you can still see the inconsistencies in, you know, throughout the game, which is really awesome to see. And then when you see somebody bowl a game that is just absolutely flawless and they score 190, that's eye-opening. That's like, wow, there's so much to this game that the naked eye just can't see, that you would think that, you know, a lot of people think that if you just, you know, repeat and throw it perfect every time, you're going to score the best. And that's just not how it is anymore, because there's so many different variables that go into, you know, bowling a really good score, that it's not just about repeating and throwing good shots. There's so much more to it. Someone has some serious feedback. Oh, I see what you, okay, yeah. Everybody seems to be shut off now.
I'm pretty sure that was me.
Oh yeah, that's all right. That's all right. Hey Scott, how's the business doing? Everything cool now?
Business is going well.
Yeah.
Kind of calming down after political season, but no, just kind of enjoying the summer.
Good, good. You
Played golf at that course we had that
yeah.
pro-am out.
I was just gonna ask you hitting any more bombs through that little tree cubby hole?
Nah, it grew in, unfortunately.
Oh, did it really? That stinks.
Yeah,
Huh.
that little tree that was down there, it grew in and can't quite cut it the way you used to, but it's doesn't mean I don't laugh every time I see that hole.
Yeah, yeah. That was a fun time for sure. I had a good time that
Mhm.
day. Yeah. So again, I'm gonna
But
remind
no,
everybody. What's that?
I was gonna say with all that what you were talking about with the specto and all that stuff, just even the easy availability of video helps coaching so much, let alone all the actual numbers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really cool. I mean, phones nowadays are so advanced that I don't even have to download any certain app to be able to do anything. I can literally just take a video and I can slow it down with my phone and be able to show people what I'm actually looking for, and be able to zoom in and do all that stuff just with a normal video off my phone. Because like all my YouTube videos are made simply from my phone, you know, so which that's not true. Some of them are with the other camera that I bought, but most times it's with my phone, because my phone is just so easily accessible. It's small. I can put it on a little tripod and I can move it and it's out of the way, and I can zoom in. I mean, there's just so much I can do with it. The cameras that they put on these new phones and everything are ridiculous. It's crazy to see, you know, the type of footage you can get from some of these phones and everything. Whereas like Brad and Kyle, they have a bit like a vlogging camera that they use for theirs, which puts out, you know, really good video too. And by the way, they they are doing some really cool stuff on their channel. Like I really, I'm a fan myself, you know, and I love that they continue to put out content as well, because you know our channels actually complement each other really well. But the way I explain it is they're more of a behind the scenes, get to see what it's like to be a professional bowler type of channel, and then they do some training videos as filler, you know, on times when they don't have content necessarily, or when they're not bowling an event. And then like mine's the opposite. Mine is mostly training and coaching type videos, and then I use some behind the scenes like opinion videos for filler. You know, so we're like two opposite channels, but we attract kind of the same crowd, which is kind of cool. So when they make videos, their videos are recommending my stuff for people to go watch, and then when I'm making videos, mine's recommending theirs to go watch their videos. So it works out really cool. It's pretty neat. So I'm always rooting for them to put new videos up, because every time they put a new video up, my views go through the roof as well. So it works out really well. Which, yeah, this is a good point. Again, for anybody who, you know, if you like this channel, if you like the Mug Club, if you like all this stuff, please go over to patreon.com /life traction control. Support that if you can. If you want virtual lessons, go on there. We can do virtual lessons. Or if you just want to support the channel, I think there's a $1.50 option. $1.50 a month supports the channel and keeps everything going. And then there's a $5 tier in there as well. But I highly suggest the virtual lessons, because it's really cool for us to get to interact back and forth, to where I pull up your video that you take, that you send me, and then I create a video to send you back. and I analyze it and give you tips on how to fix specific parts. And if you ever have a specific thing that you want worked on, you can always, send me that video with an email that says, hey, this is what I see. What do you think? Or this is what I would like to really get corrected. I've been working on this, so it works out really good to do that. And it's really cool for people who, they can't make it to Michigan. I've had, when I was at TurboTech, I've had people fly in from California to come out for lessons and stuff. That's different. They have all that technology and stuff there. It may be worth it. I'm not saying, it wouldn't be worth it to come have a lesson, which maybe it wouldn't be because it's, to come out maybe for a couple hours or something, but I don't have all that stuff to be able to use anymore. But for those who are that far away, we could always do it virtually online, which is really cool. So if you haven't been over there and signed up and you want to take advantage of that or just support the channel, make sure you head over there. And then also head over to the website itself, lifestractioncontrol.com. Look at some of the merchandise and all that stuff. I have to plug this stuff, man. I got to let you guys in on this. It's kind of my job. My wife has her own line, so if your wives like some of that female type stuff with some motivation stuff on there, you can check it out. Actually, let me see if should be able to just pull it up right here so you guys can kind of see. Well, it's the mom collection that she created, which is pretty neat. I think it's pretty cool. She's got some cool stuff in here, some leggings and shirts and wife, mom, boss, rise and grind, different hoodies and tank tops and all that good jazz. So she's got a couple different sayings on here and all that. So, because she's that fitness, nutrition, workout type lady, she likes to do all that stuff. So it works out pretty good for her. She does a good job with it. So she created a line to kind of be able to reach out to the females, to the women, the moms, the wives, whoever, to be able to get what they need or want as far as that goes too. So if you got wives, want to get them a present, send them over here, and then tell your wives to head over here to get yourself a Father's Day gift and get yourself a Loft t-shirt. These are pretty cool. I like these. The Loft King, because now you have a lack of freaking talent. I'm sorry, but I was so excited for this shirt. It's so cool. I love wearing this thing out in public because people have no idea what it means unless they can read the fine print down here. So they just think it's a Lion King shirt. That's all this is, the Lion King background there, which is pretty cool. So, and yes, I actually redid this by hand. I edited it myself so that way it wasn't exactly like the Lion King, and I could change it enough to make it my own thing, so I don't get in trouble for copyright. So it worked out pretty good. But I did want to talk a little bit about Flow Bowling. How many of you are Flow Bowling members in here? Anybody got the subscription? I just actually paid my new subscription. I think yesterday the new subscription came out, and I got grandfathered into the $64 rate, which is really cool. So I get it every year for $64, and now I think it's like $150 for anybody that's new. But yeah, Jeremy, you should have got it when it was $64, man. But for $150, if you are a fan of bowling, especially for like these summer events coming up, there's going to be a lot of cool action going on. Flow Bowling, in my opinion, I think it's good but bad at the same time. And I think we talked about this a little bit before. I shouldn't call it bad. I don't want to say it's bad. I think it's not just for Flow Bowling, you get the whole sports channel. I think that's for premium membership. I think you can just sign up for just Flow Bowling. I think. I could be wrong. Maybe the $150 a year is for the premium membership to see them all. So yeah, technically, I guess you would get to see all the sports that they have on there. So I understand $150 seems like an awful lot, and $30 a month is kind of crazy when it comes to something like that. But for true bowling fans, man, it's hard to pass up to be able to watch all that stuff, because now they have it set up to where, when they have good broadband or good broadband or bandwidth or whatever it is that they can actually stream without problems, they have multiple cameras set up. So they have like 6 or 7 pairs that you can watch. And when you're in some of the small venues, like when they're in Oklahoma and there's 12 pair, they have cameras on every pair. So you can literally pick and choose. You can follow your favorite bowlers every game and watch them every time. Some of the complaints from before were that, sometimes you'd have games where it was people you didn't want to watch, and you couldn't really switch off of it because that was the only pair that there was. So that was kind of what you got. And the big, I think some of the big improvements can be, if they have their own Wi-Fi, if they have, I know it's super expensive to buy a truck that, can support their own satellite, system to be able to, get as much bandwidth as they want. But if they had that and they could just run multiple cameras, kind of like, NFL shows to where they have cameras out on the lane or out on the field moving around and all that, how cool would that be? I think it would be so awesome to have, some cameras out on the lanes. Maybe they were just stationary, but you could see the front view, or see straight down on the lane. There's some cool stuff that they could really do. I think they're doing a really good job with some of their off the lanes content. They're doing a lot of coaching type videos, getting some of the PBA professionals involved to give some tips and talk about some things. Don't necessarily agree with everything that every coach or every bowler on there says coaching wise, but that's okay. I mean, tips are tips. Sometimes we just have to get the word out differently to different people to get people to understand what we're trying to get them to do. So what I teach about slowing down could be different than what somebody else teaches, and maybe it works the way I do it, and then maybe for a different person it works the way they explain it. So it's really good to get different perspectives out there for teaching and coaching and all that stuff too. So that's why I start to harp on some of these PBA guys. I get a lot of them that will, they'll say, "Hey, I really like your channel. I think you're doing a great thing." And so I try to tell them, like, yeah, so when are you going to start a channel? Because we need more and more out there of these guys doing that type of stuff to get bowling to spread and to be more wide seen. Because believe it or not, the majority of the people that watch my channel are beginner bowlers. They're new to bowling. They're just trying to learn more about bowling. They're not the advanced guys, because a lot of the PBA guys, most of them are, not even just PBA guys, but your high end league bowlers. They're too proud. They already know everything about the game, so they don't need to go to YouTube and see those channels and all that. But if there's more PBA guys doing like what Brad and Kyle are doing and giving a more inside look, and like what Flow Bowling does, giving the inside look and all that, I think we could grow the game immensely just from having that much more content available about bowling. So the more content that we could create with bowling, I think it would be better. More sponsors see that type of stuff and they see the excitement. So I think, between Brad and Kyle and my channel, we have over 50,000 subscribers, almost 55,000 subscribers. So we're reaching that many people, basically daily. I think last time I looked at my channel, I'm reaching over 500,000 people every single month. And I can only imagine what they're reaching. So, if we're reaching millions of people every couple of months, and sure, some of them are repeats, imagine the info and the learning and the amount of, people starting to like bowling and grow to want to play the sport a little bit more. Imagine what we can do if we had 10 PBA professionals creating YouTube channels and doing all this extra stuff to create all this content and get more information out there. I think we could do some amazing things for the game, and sponsorship would just fly, and our kids would be able to, I wouldn't be telling my kid to pick up a golf club. I'd be telling them to pick up a bowling ball again. Because right now I'm telling them to pick up a golf club and put the bowling balls down. Because right now there's not much of a future as a bowler unless, you're like me, who has other avenues and a job in the industry and stuff like that. That's the only way. It's real easy to be a bowler. So, what? Oh, is it? Oh, okay, here we go. Wife's phone's dead. She needs my charger. Handing it off, so she's good. But anyway, any last questions or anything like that? I just kind of wanted to cover that a little bit on the topics. Anybody have any suggestions for topics for the next podcast? If you do, I mean, you can either tell me here or you can email them to me if you want at either betterbowlingfitness@gmail.com, or you can email lifestractioncontroljr@gmail.com. Jeremy, for Junior Gold, I think I'm actually running a clinic. I'm setting it up with Mason at Classic Lanes, so people can get to the Detroit area, and some of the local people can. We're gonna do a Junior Gold clinic beforehand, probably at the end of this month. I'm gonna set it up at the end of June because they're all coming in July. So be on the lookout for that. I'll get a clinic going. We'll get something local there. For those of you, if you're in Vegas, I don't know if anybody in here is from Vegas, but we have a clinic. It's almost full already. Phil Placco and I are doing a clinic on Sunday, the 23rd. There's 2 squads, 10 a.m. and I think 1. I don't know. I don't remember. Maybe it's noon. I don't know. But there's 2 squads in there to where we are going to be doing a building and arsenal section. We're going to be talking about bowling balls, RG, and differential. We're going to be doing a lot of physical game type stuff and then the mental game as well. So we're going to do 2-hour clinics, 2 sessions there. They're $59 for each section. You can do one or you can do both. It's up to you. But it is almost full. So anybody out in that area, just let me know. And then also clinic will be coming, like I said, for juniors as well before junior gold. So, and if you want a clinic in your area, if you want to host a clinic, let me know and we can try and set something up at one of the bowling centers and we will get it going. I try to do them for like $59 or between $55 and $59. Make a little bit of money for the center. I think I don't remember how it works out, but make a little bit of money for the center, get some people in there, try to do 10 people in each session, maybe do 3 or 4 sessions throughout a day. We can do it on a weekend, a weekday, whatever you think is best. So whatever you want to do, if anybody wants to host one, let me know and we'll get it done. But I think I'm about done here. We'll look through the chat, make sure we got no more comments. Scott says, yep, we'll be in touch. Hopefully something this fall, winter when Belwick is back open. I'm going to be making a big push for the junior programs. Okay, perfect. Yeah, we'll set something up for sure.
I mean, we've got 4 high school teams bowling out of there, so.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it'd be pretty easy. I mean, we could basically set it up. We'll do a clinic here, each one for each high school, each school. So if you wanted, could even make them even longer than 2 hours if need be.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, they're starting construction hopefully in a few weeks. New roof, new everything.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I'm the only one to say it's about time.
All of us here are saying the same thing, but it took a near catastrophe, and well, hey, it's happening.
Yeah, at least it's happening because that place was a dump. I thought for sure it'd be closed beforehand. So I'm glad they're actually taking the initiative to get it done. But yeah, if nobody's got anything else, I saw Jeremy. I saw you said here at Fair Lanes. Yeah, I'll get. We'll get together. If you've got an idea, let me know, and we'll put something together. I'll get a flyer together. I've got my generic flyer. We can always change it and make it however you want. So anybody that wants to do one, just let me know. Hit me up, and we'll get it going. But if anybody's got anything else, we're gonna get out of here. I'm about 11 minutes longer than I expected to be. So anything last minute before we take off?
JR, just want to say, look forward to the clinic next week in Vegas. Be doing the 1 o'clock session with you.
Oh, good.
And Tuesday night, Phil noticed that I was drifting to the right, and he said that you and him are both going to beat me up over it.
Yep. And I'm going to guess the reason you're drifting to the right is a lot of lining up improperly. You're probably lining up too far left to start, because the way you look at the lane when you're standing up at the back of the approach and you're looking at the target intended, it looks different than when you move to the foul line. So if you stand on 15 and then you get all the way up to the foul line, it's going to look like if you're trying to go 15 to 5 and you're standing on, let's call it 25, and you in the back, it looks like it's going to go 15 to 5. And then you get to the foul line. Now all of a sudden it looks like the ball's going to go in the gutter because your perception changes the way you see. And that's going to be one of those things we talk about there, because that's such a widespread problem that people have, because there's a lack of coaching in the industry and a lack of good coaching in the industry. Unfortunately, a lot of coaches are just kind of, they're in it to try to make a couple extra bucks, which is good, I guess. It gets people talking about bowling and actually reaching out for coaching. So any coaching is probably good. I don't think anybody could really destroy somebody's game by giving tips and stuff. But as long as they're not getting hurt, I think we're in good shape. But unfortunately, there is some false information that gets spread that causes some problems, and that's a because there's not enough coaching out there, a lot of people do have that problem with drifting right. So we'll see. CST, will you be sending the link for the recording? Yeah, Adam, actually, I'll be sending out the links. I'll send out the link to this as soon as it uploads. after this. It takes about an hour for it to upload, and then I'll just email it out to everybody, all the Mug Club members. So you'll get that probably sometime tonight or tomorrow morning, first thing. So no problem there. But yeah, anyway, what I was saying, there's just not enough coaching, not enough coaches, not enough people doing clinics, not enough of the top level coaches doing coaching and all that stuff. So hopefully here shortly we'll see some more of the PBA guys and some more top level coaches start to do some more things and start to teach the game and get more bowlers involved. So any more info on the ABA? No, I've got a group of people that have been chatting about it. And I can always add you to that group, Leland, if you want to be in there. I think they're kind of working some things out together and seeing where that whole thing wants to go, if it's going to go anywhere. So I can always add you to that. I think you sent me an email and I probably never responded. I think I probably forgot or something, because I remember you did say something about it before. So I'll go back and look at that email and I'll send you some info on that as well. But anyway, I'm going to get out of here. I'll see you guys later. If you have questions, remember, make sure to go over to patreon.com. Try to support that if you can. And we'll see you guys next time, whenever that's going to be. Take care.
Thank you.
You got it.